Good evening. Patrick here. 8 Questions with. Welcome to the show. Yeah. Wow. It's also Library Day, too, on top of that. So, first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who came out yesterday to support us for the show with the cast and the director of Dying to Sleep. That was a lot of fun. Um, I I don't I last time I had that many guests on, we were talking with the cast of St. Mary's School of the Stigmata. Uh, and that's been a while since I brought that many people on board, but I had a total blast. And we will be doing it again soon. Hi, Ed, how are you? All right, and Jaden is here. Um, I'm glad you guys are all here. See, Ed said he's got a Halloween 2 t-shirt. That's awesome. Um, I am doing currently, I am recording 31 days of Spooktacular. That's going to be coming out starting October 1st. So I am already watching and recording a movie a day for that so I can get ahead of it. So we watched one today and we're going to watch one after tonight's show. We're going to watch another one. But today we watched, the only thing I can tell you that it was a true crime movie, a crime that really happened, but it was horrible. Definitely horror. Yeah, thanks to everybody, including the cast of Dying to Sleep, Paris Dillon, Sarah Lydia Sophia, uh, Victoria Baldessera, and Shaitan. Oh gosh, see, I'm gonna kill it. I'm just gonna just like, oh, he's gonna kill me. I think it's. I'm not gonna kill it. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna pronounce it phonetically, so I don't mess up his name because he was a really nice guy and he deserves me to do a better effort at trying to say his name. Okay, okay, okay. Uh, Shaitan Gilbert. Okay, so there you go. Oh God, please let that be right. All right, 'cause I just had him on the show yesterday, right? So how do I forget his name so fast? Ugh, crazy. There is Echo Zero in the house. One half of the House of Horrors is in the house. The other half is currently in Texas filming a movie. So Stephen, be safe down there. I asked him. I asked Stephen if he was working with the Green Kia again. And he goes, "No, no, this is Will Palazzo, not Mark Polonia." But I said, "But still, the Green Kia gets everywhere. It's everywhere." All right. So let's see what's come up on the calendar because I didn't really get to do that too much yesterday, and I should do that now because the calendar is packed. It's packed. So tomorrow, I'm actually doing two shows tomorrow. One, we are guests on. We are heading over to our good friend DeRay, also known as Rainbow Fright, at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be talking about our five favorite IFC midnight films. That's right. She got it down. Actually, they're doing a couple of things on her channel. They're doing the ISC Midnight panel tomorrow. The day after that, or the 2 days after that, they're doing a deep dive on the Devil's Candy, which we've already done on the ISC Midnights. And then later on, I think like 8 or 9 days later, they're doing she's having a panel. I don't know why I didn't get invited to that one either. I should ask her that. But they're doing an A24, five best A24 films too. I should have been invited to that. I got 45 A24 movies in my collection. I should have been counted to that. But I told Rainbow, I said, what you should do is you should do the ISCs and do the A24s, and then next month during Halloween, during October, battle. That's right, battle. The five best ISC films against the five best A24 films would be fun. And then of course tomorrow night at 8 o'clock we have film director Stephen King Simmons will be with us. He will be with us, and I'm looking forward to meeting him. And we're talking about his film. the Parker sessions that we'll be talking about, and we'll also be talking about his new film that he's making called Lead Belly. So we will be talking to Stephen King Simmons tomorrow. And yes, we will ask him about his parents naming him after the Stephen King, the writer. I think that's pretty interesting. I think it's a incredibly. I think it's really cool. It's a real cool homage uh, to Stephen King. I think it's cool that you name somebody after anybody anyway. Um, I mean, look at Echo. He was named after a sonar. So uh, let's see. On the 7th, this Thursday, we will be talking to film restorer Bob Fernanik from 3D Film Archive at 8 o'clock. We'll be talking. He goes around and he finds movies that were released in the 3D, and those he can get his hands on. He tries to get them and restore them to their former glory. I first met across Bob because I did a review for Bayview Entertainment that just released one of those restoration projects. They just got done releasing Robot Monster from 1953, and I watched it and reviewed it. And you know what? That movie was cheese, but it was still a lot of fun, and it absolutely looked beautiful. Beautiful. That's why I said, we got to talk to this guy. How did he make this movie look like it looks pristine? Most of those movies, public domain movies, they're anything but. They're rough. A lot of them are just in rough shape. Being in the public domain, a lot of film distributors probably not so much now, but a lot of film distributors, they would rip off a copy. Hell, they would just buy their own and then copy it off what they bought, and then they would put it on a multi-pack and throw it out there for 10 or 11 bucks. But he goes around, he rescues those movies and he restores them to their original glory, if not better. Let's see. Echo says he's Echo's evil twin. Let's see. He's a fan of movies and about talking fish. So obviously, you're telling me you're a fan of the Incredible Mr. Limpet. I love that. I think Incredible Mr. Limpet is one of my favorite Don Knotts movies. That was really cool. I get that. And then Friday we have two shows. Two shows Friday. Two. First of all, we're going to have one of our own come on. We're going to have the very own Charles Cochran will be visiting us at 3 p.m. on Friday. 3 p.m. on Friday. So Charles is like the silent guy in our group. I mean, he does a lot of cool things on his channel. He's very supportive of us all when he's able to. When he's able to, he supports us all. I know he works a lot. He has a very busy job. And I know sometimes at night he goes to live music events. So he's not always there at night like right now. I mean, if he had a night off, he'd probably be watching live music somewhere. And I get that because honestly, so I get that. But I like his channel. I like his style. He does Dollar Tree Theater along with us. He does really cool movies that a lot of us have never heard of. And Charles is just all around just a really nice guy, really quiet and real steady and real sturdy. And I appreciate him coming on. And we're going to be talking about him and his love of film. So that'll be Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. And then that night on the 8th at 8 o'clock, we'll be talking to Bayview Entertainment's press guru, Peter Castro. Peter Castro is the one that we deal with. Anybody who he services us with movies for us to watch and review, and so he works for Bayview Entertainment, and he's going to come on and we're going to talk film distributing. What does it take to make a company like Bayview work? The future of it. Is there a future for film distributors? Will they slowly become the way of college football? Will they just be absorbed by different conferences, different companies, and pretty soon it's just one huge conglomerate? We don't know, but we're going to ask them, and that will be at 8 p.m. Say, Stephen saying here, hey, Patrick, yesterday was my birthday. He is now 30 years old. Stephen, happy birthday to you, young man. Happy birthday to you. See, Echo is sitting here going, Don Knotts is French for legend. Actually, Jerry Lewis is French for legend. Jerry Lewis. But Don Knotts, not a bad attempt. Um, yeah, the incredible Mr. Olympus, and of course Barney Fife on the Andy Griffith Show. He of the one bullet. So next week we are busy again. Next week we're off. We're back to three a week. We're back to three shows next week. We will see the return of two different guests. On Tuesday the 12th, we'll see the return of Ava and Doug Potterfield will be with us. On the 12th for a fun catch up and a lot of cool music. That's really what I got them there for because I want to hear them play because I'm never able to really tune into them when they do their lives. And so for some reason, watching, I like being there when they're playing. I do. I'm Ava and Doug are probably going like, why come we don't come to the replay? I don't know. I just love watching them when they play live, and a lot of times I just can't get to those lives. I'm swamped. Um, like this Friday, I won't be able to make it to their live this Friday because I'll be busy interviewing Peter Castro. So I'm just slammed. So they're going to be coming back at 8 p.m. On Tuesday on the 12th. On the 13th, we have our friend Bryn Pryor will be with us. Bryn Pryor will be with us, and we will be talking about all sorts of fun movies that he's directed. He's worked with Roger Corman, and he's worked with I dare say he's probably the one director that's probably worked with more beautiful women than anybody I've ever interviewed before. Yes, that's true. He has worked with more beautiful women in his career than probably all the rest of my directors combined. Um, but we're gonna let him explain how that happens on the 13th. Um, hey, Sharmello, how are you? And then on the 14th, we are going to have another panel show. We're going to invite filmmaker Joe Leone, who's going to come on with this cast of Breakup Mountain on the 14th at 8 p.m. Now, Joe was on the show before. We talked about his film Reap and he's got a really sharp eye for talent. He Yeah, he's got a really sharp eye. He can find some really good actors, and so we're going to talk about this Breakup Mountain and the guests that are going to be that will be on the show. It's a small movie as far as cast wise go, but it has features three actors I've never heard of before, which means that next week, after the week after I interview them, which means I'll be seeing them on People Magazine or on a big movie or what have you. And speaking of that, there's our friend Katie walking in. She is our big star of the month. She is Horror Tuber of the month. Congratulations to Katie. She just got done launching her new ad for her Halloween extravaganza next month. And what was really cool about it was seeing Clay Zombies in there because that's an independent film. Most times when people do Halloween and Halloween ad, their clips or whatever, they're all from movies that we already know. Some of them we know to dinosaur dust. So this is actually one of the very first times, if I actually think about it, I think it might be the first time that I've seen someone actually a do a you know a to do a ad clip introductory clip where where they showed an independent film. So that's really fun. That's really fun. So it was really cool to see that. Of course, there was a 1 second view of Hocus Pocus. I guess you just got to go with what you got to go. But there was so much more Clay Zombie out there than it was Hocus Pocus. So it was a kick-ass ad. All right, the doorbell just rang, so that means one thing. That means our guest is here. So please help me. Please share us out if you can, if you will, and please help me welcome our guest, the actress and singer Amere Blackwell. Here we go.
Hello.
Hello, Amere. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So now tell me I got your name right, right?
Very, very close. It's actually pronounced Amere, but you're very
Oh,
close.
Amir. Okay. Okay, because yesterday, I don't know. I sent you the show we did yesterday, or was it yesterday or the day the one before? I'm trying to think. It was the one with I was trying to think it was the one I sent you with Dying to Sleep, or was it with Morgan Thompson? I got Morgan's name right, but I was doing the panel interview yesterday, and I kept on
Mm.
messing up on one of the actors' names. It was so embarrassing. It's just like he's just telling me his name, and it's like saying your name. Like, okay, your name is Ameri? No, no, it's Amera. And then you hear it, and you come back, and you still mess it up.
Eh,
Uh,
call me whatever.
I don't care what you call me, but just don't call me late to dinner. That's an old one. That's an old one. Well, I'm glad you are here. I'm glad you're here. Wow, you have accomplished so much in so much for someone so young, and it's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah,
Um,
it's it's been a whirlwind.
now, I know right now there's a middle of the strikes going on right now.
Yeah.
So, so how you been keeping yourself busy creative wise? This is the same question I asked for people when I was talking about the damn pandemic. I would be sitting asking people like, well, so how do you keep yourself sane while you're not able to work? So here I am again asking the same question. It's like, so how do you keep yourself sane when you're not able to work?
Um, I like to. I honestly, I've still stayed busy with acting, and I've kind of I've been really diving into theater again, which was something when I moved out to Los Angeles, I wasn't really doing as much of because I wanted to do more of a focus on film because I did a lot of theater growing up. And so I wanted to venture into something that I didn't know much of. And funny enough, I found myself falling back on the theater and I've just been falling in love with it. I almost feel like more now having stepped back from it. So I've been doing theater, I've been taking some classes here and there and just really trying to like be aware and present and just observe really. That's how I keep myself
Now,
creatively.
now I saw in one of your colleges that one of the schools you went to was in Flint. Now, was that were you from Michigan yourself?
Yes, I am.
Wow. Okay. Now, did you grow up in Flint?
I did not grow up in the city of Flint. I actually grew up in a small town kind of in the suburbs. It was right in between like Flint and Detroit.
What would that one be?
It's called Grand Blanc.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Yep. I know it. I know. Been
You
through
know
it.
Grand Blanc?
Oh yeah. I'm in southeastern Michigan. I'm about 18 miles away from Ann Arbor.
Oh, that's crazy.
Small world.
Very, very small. That's awesome.
But now you're in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in Los Angeles.
Oh, that is funny.
Hmm. Got some Kevin Bacon stuff going on here. The two degrees of Amere Blackwell. See, I interviewed her while she was in Michigan. I lived right next to her, right next to her town. All right, you win. Uh, but Michigan, yeah, I saw that, and I was like, wow, I wonder if she was from here. And so,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Um, what was it like growing up in Grand Blanc? I mean, as far as getting your start going, just to start your creative journey. How what was it like?
Well, growing up, I had a very interesting education growing up because I was actually
Mm.
homeschooled. So, growing up, I had the freedom to explore really where my interests lied. And at a very early age, I loved music and I loved performing. So I started off like in dance. I did that for about 9 years. I also took up like piano lessons and then I really liked singing. So I was like, oh, this is so fun. I love singing. I love playing the piano. And my mom was like, well, maybe you could try musical theater. You can do dance, singing, and acting. So that's when I was around 12, 13, I started doing like local community theater. And then from there, that kind of blossomed into I really wanted to hone in on my voice. And so I studied at the Flint School of Performing Arts with David Lindsay, and he was actually one of my mom's high school like friends that she knew, but and she's like, you can try some lessons with, Dave, see how it goes. And that was a lot of fun. And I learned an incredible amount going to the Flint School of Performing Arts. And what's the word? Like
Yeah.
they teach you the history and all of music, and also like I got a very wide range of knowledge, not just with performance, but also with music. And it was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of things that I think a lot of kids my age would not have gotten to do, and I'm very grateful for that experience.
Now, who taught you? Was it your mom who taught you? Is homeschooled you, or your father, or was it a combination of both?
So it's kind of interesting. So first through like fifth grade, my mom taught me primarily. She used to be a school teacher, and then when she had kids, she was like, she's like, I saw a lot of the times a lot of kids would spend, time in a classroom that was just wasted, like waiting for the last kid in the room to finish before they could move on to something else. And she's like, you could do so much with that time. And so I want to give my kids the opportunity to use that time to explore something and kind of learn at their own pace. And so first through fifth, she taught me. And then going into like middle school, so like sixth and seventh, I kind of started doing like some online courses as well as her teaching me as well. And then when I was in like seventh, eighth grade, so like in Michigan, you can actually go to school part-time. So you can like take electives in the public school. So I got to take choir and band in school. And then I did all my core classes at home. And then I did a lot of the stuff online because that was around the time where a lot of the online curriculums were really kind of built up. So yeah.
Okay. Now, did you go to high school and did you go to high school at a high school, or did you stay home for that as well?
So high school, high school was a bit chaotic. So high school, I did my core classes at home. I did choir and band, and then I also participated in theater and like marching band in school. And then that's where I was really heavily attending the Flint School of Performing Arts and pursuing my honors diploma. So I was doing like quite a bit of time up at the FSPA as well. So my time was split in a lot of different directions, but I learned so much from that.
Yeah, I bet you learned how to manage your time really well.
Yeah,
Was your do you feel like you got a full education?
100%. I mean, I learned everything that anybody that, went to school would have learned. I received my diploma, my high school diploma. But I got to get really refined and detailed knowledge in things that I liked. So like when I'd study, like say like I really liked anatomy, like if I really liked anatomy, my mom would be like, okay, so you can like take anatomy more. Like, you do the basic levels of like chemistry and this and that. Like if you really like Latin, like I liked anatomy. So she's like, I'll take anatomy a few times and stuff like that. But a lot of my interests were in the performing arts. And she's like, if that's something you want to do and you want to pursue full-heartedly, like I want you to be free to explore that. And so that's kind of what I did.
So how did you apply to go to the Flint School? I mean, didn't you have to have did you have to have a diploma there? Did you have to go through testing? Did you have to get invited?
Actually, no. So you can just sign up and take classes with a teacher. But they also have a scholarship program. So um, I did it kind of, my parents were like, we'll pay for one term and then let's see where your motivation goes. See if you can get a scholarship. So practically my first term, I studied with my teacher, Dave. He was lovely. And then pretty much after that, I was on scholarships. And then I kind of started taking longer lessons, the more scholarships I got. And then I started they introduced an honors diploma program, which you don't necessarily apply for. They won't like reject anybody. From what I understand, they were still trying to kind of get that program like boosted or like more well known. And so I did that, and that's kind of where you had like a theory test, you had to like you had like your main course of study, which mine was voice, but then you also had to take another instrument. So I studied guitar and lute and ukulele with the same
Yeah,
teacher.
you're
And
very
then,
skilled.
huh?
You're very skilled. You play you play 5 or 6 instruments. Well,
So I'll list them. I don't know the number count, but I play piano, guitar, lute, ukulele, and then I can also do percussion. I know marching percussion as well as auxiliary percussion, and I
and
also
I was gonna
sing.
say you
Yeah.
gotta do that, and you sing. Yeah, that's not when I was looking at your reel. I was really captivated because I love musical theater too. I'm a
Oh,
huge
that's so fun.
yeah. I'm a huge like if I got stranded on a desert island with Sarah Brightman, I could be die happy. Uh, So, so when I saw that and I could hear your range, oh my gosh, your voice is just beautiful. Now, what
Thank
type of
you.
voice what type of voice is that? I know there's different styles of singing that you do. So, what's your favorite? I mean, I was looking and you said it said belt, and I'm going like, I don't think she's a belter. I think she's more operatic.
The,
You feel your voice is more do you feel like your voice is more operatic than it is like a pop singer or
oh, definitely. Like my vocal style or what naturally where my voice lies is the term is actually called a coloratura soprano. And so I also studied opera while I was at the school, and it was explained to me that there's different types of so like there's like for women there's like alto, there's soprano, there's mezzo soprano, and those lie in different regions. And then there's coloratura sopranos, which they don't have one set area where they're like really like strong. Like with an alto, when they sing, they have got like a really beautifully like deep voice. With sopranos, it's very high, very strong, but usually when they kind of go low, it's not as like it's not as full. But with a coloratura soprano, the voice is kind of lighter, but it can just run up and down the keyboard.
right?
And so I was blessed with that.
So I think mezzo soprano is that's the voice that Sarah Brightman has, if I'm not
I think
mistaken.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Here we are. So we're talking opera, talking musical theater. I love it. No, I do. I think it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And now do you have just a straight reel of you just singing? I mean, if I didn't find that, but do you have a reel of you just singing? Because I want to
I
put that down below so people can hear you.
I do have one. I don't know if I've uploaded it on my YouTube channel, but I know that's if I have not uploaded it yet, it's definitely something I need to get done because I have it on my casting profiles. I don't think I've gotten around to my YouTube yet.
Let's see. Over here in Michigan, it is now thunderstorming. Um, I'm going to cross our fingers on this because the last time this happened to us, we had a tornado get dropped on us. So let's not have a repeat of that. We were out without power for 3 days. So
Oh wow.
yeah, good old Michigan. We do have our first question of the day for you, and it's coming from film director, screenwriter Michael Menard, whose first feature length film, "You Should Have Killed Me," just dropped. So he is now a named filmmaker. How about that?
Congratulations.
And it's a great movie too, a lot of fun. But he asked the question for you, Amer. Um, are there certain traits you look for in a director before taking on a project? If so, what are they?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I like that one.
Mhm.
I think at this point in my career, I'm very early on, so I don't think I've necessarily like ever turned down working with anybody. But definitely in a director, I really appreciate someone who's very open and has a very like just calm energy. And you feel like you can have kind of that conversation of where you're coming from and like so you can kind of have that conversation about like, character development and just somebody that just feels very, very open. I've worked with very like a lot of different types of people, and I don't think that I've ever had like set issues with anybody because I find, it's like you can really work with anybody, but I really appreciate people who just like their arms are like wide open. Like I don't know how to like put that into like adjectives or anything, but I love working with people that you just feel innately like just safe around. And depending on the type of work that's required, because as an actor you're very emotionally vulnerable. Just having that comfort just adds to that layer of where you can get even more vulnerable. And yeah.
Um, can you tell when a director is nervous or under stress? Have you seen that in your experience so far? Like when
Oh yeah.
you tell by the whole body language that they're all tightened up and their movements are stilted or short and sharp, and there's no looseness to them, relaxed. Have you run across a director in that situation?
Yeah, I one of the shorts that I worked on, the director, we were pulling a very, very late night. There was a few things on set that just kind of didn't, like, just things happen and things kind of get a bit behind schedule. And I remember I was very, very tired. It was a very, very late night shoot, and we were trying to get like the last few shots in. And she actually pulled me aside and she's like, "I'm not feeling this from you. Like, what's going on?" And just I could tell that she was like stressed about it. And I was like, "Okay, I gotta pull through. I gotta kind of go back to my technique and you know pull that together." But it definitely made me feel stressed that I have to get this, I have to get this, I have to get this now. And I think it actually made things take a longer time because I don't know, you can tell when the work feels rushed and it doesn't feel organic. And I think, like for me, if I can tell that there's stress on set, I can tell that, I'm very in tune to that. So when that happens, it's just kind of like, I kind of freeze and I'm like, oh gosh. But thankfully with method, it rarely lasts for, a long time. That's definitely my saving grace.
Yeah, I noticed that you trained extensively in method acting.
Yeah.
So why did you choose method for your technique? What led? I mean, what led you to that? Was because were you exposed to it before you went to school? And had you seen it before in action before you went to school?
I definitely seen it in action, like in movies. I loved Heath Ledger's work. I loved Marilyn Monroe. She was one of my just favorite actors. But growing up, like a lot of the musical theater directors that I worked with, it wasn't really focused on the acting. It was more on the performing. So performance-wise, it was good. But as an actor, it's like, what are you feeling? That was such a new thing. And I knew that I wanted to study acting, and I was looking at different schools just kind of in Los Angeles and New York when I stumbled across Strasberg, and I was like, oh, what's this? So I looked into method acting, and I felt very connected into reading what it was and what it entailed, because it seemed like it was incredibly intellectually driven, and it felt like how I would innately work. And so I kind of just took the plunge and was like, well, let's see what it's about, see if it works. And like it's been a godsend, and I feel like it's really helped develop my work. Like I've been able to create entire different personalities just from the work that I was trained in there, and it's amazing.
Uh, yeah, method seems so interesting. It's you always see, and I've mentioned this before, but we had one guest on here who he gained in high school. In high school, he did this.
Wow.
He gained like 35 pounds to play a role. I think they were doing a streetcar named Desire or something like that. He gained 35 pounds to play the bartender in high school. That's crazy. But I guess that's what method's about. So, what was your first experience with that? I mean, in front of an audience, I mean, when you went to class, did you seek method acting classes? And if you did, what was your first reaction when you saw it when you saw it for the first time as a student? Were you filled with confidence that you could do it, or did you ever have any secondary thoughts about it?
I never had any second thoughts about it. I remember when I went into my first class. I was kind of a little like there's a lot with method that it does not matter, like if you've studied for a year or 2 years, there's a lot of unknown. But like, we pretty much were told the basis of, relaxation and sensory and what that was supposed to do. And I remember our teacher, he was like, I'm not going to over explain it, we're just going to do it. So we go through, we do the relaxation. And are you familiar like with the method process at all?
A little bit, where you basically separate yourself and you just build your own character and you stay within that character. And you create a whole life story, whole backstory for that character, and you respond as the character.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty on par, but there's actually a few like differences. Like, and this is where I say, if you want to talk about method, like we need to have all night because it's a very, very deep, a very, very.
I was just I was just wondering, as we're talking, I'm wondering, you did musical theater. You're, and I'm just wondering, how does method translate to live theater? Now I know how it works in film, but how is it in not only theater but musical theater?
That's kind of an interesting kind of challenge I'm exploring right now, because when I first moved out here, a lot of things were shut down because of COVID. I mean, I was studying in school, but like a lot of like live theater and stuff, like it was going on, but there was like a lot of restrictions. And but right now I'm actually in a musical. I'm in Andrew Lippa's Wild Party out here. I'm really excited for that. And I can almost kind of roadmap out how I would do it, but it's kind of trial and error. Like a lot of the basis of method is, you've got to be relaxed to allow whatever impulse that comes out. And it's like, I always make sure when I do my work, I'm relaxed, because I can tell a difference when I'm relaxed and when I'm not.
I can't imagine you'd be able to perform musical theater with any sort of stress. I mean, because that would just,
oh no.
Physically speaking, that wouldn't work.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I've done some shows under some extenuating circumstances, but you've got to be able to almost like separate out yourself from that other, it's like yourself from what your job is to do on stage. And I've always kind of been able to go like, okay, it doesn't matter. Like, you're on stage, you're having fun. And yeah.
What was your first musical theater role that you won, and what songs did you sing?
So my first musical theater role was when I was 12. I played tree number 3 in The Wizard of Oz.
I remember that. I remember that from the movie. Yeah.
I was really, really tiny. Like, I was not like tiny, but like at like 12, I was like 5, like, no, I wasn't even 5 foot. I was like 4 foot, like 11. And like, I was a chunky kid, but I honestly, that role taught me so much. And it kind of gave me a bit of fire inside, because it was really interesting, because I was so excited to learn my lines for that one scene that I was in, because I actually had lines. So my first play that I had done, I was an extra, so I didn't even have any lines. So like, I had the script, I memorized that entire scene. Dorothy's lines, the Tin Man's lines, Scarecrow's lines, all the trees' lines. And I remember, I'll tell this. Do you want to hear the story?
Yeah. No, go right ahead.
Okay, so I memorized the entire scene, and we were down to like our dress rehearsals, and the other 2 trees did not know their lines. And so the director was like, guys, we need to know what our lines are so we can keep the scene moving. And like, next time, we're not going to have somebody call them out. So we had like one last dress rehearsal, and I was like, I made this decision. I don't know how it came across, but I was like, if they don't say their lines, the scene does need to keep moving. So I'm just gonna say their lines, because I have the scene memorized. And so they didn't say their lines within 5 seconds. I said them. And at the last dress rehearsal, she says to them, she goes, I think this one over here, she's pointing at me, she's like, I think this one over here is going to take your lines if you don't say them like the other two. And ended up being how it was for the shows was they just didn't memorize their lines. They didn't say it. So I ended up saying it. And the director was like, I like the initiative you took. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All about Eve, right?
yeah.
Uh, so what did you after you got your scholarships, right? After you got your scholarships, then your parents realized that hey, Amir really is serious about where she's going here, and what did they? How did they keep supporting you? Did they were they proud of you? Did they have any second guesses about what you were doing? Did they ever try to talk you out of it?
Oh, no. Like from the get-go, my mom was very, very supportive of it's like whatever you want to do, I want to foster that so that you can at least give it a shot. And she said, it's like she goes, I have no idea where a career is going to go for you. I can't say, it's like I'm proud of where you've come from because I know where you started. But I want you to at least know. And they've always been incredibly supportive. My mom and my dad both of whatever I've wanted to do creatively. And I was very, very blessed. Very blessed with that.
We have another question for you. Michael's asking you, have you written any of your own screenplays? With the joy of good dialogue, with the joy good dialogue brings you, I'm sure you would enjoy it. Do method actors? That's a good question, Michael. Let me ask you this, since you probably dealt with this as well. Do method actors make good screenwriters?
Um, I
I'll have to ask that
it's
more.
it's a really
I
unique question.
yeah.
I don't know if I've read any work by a method actor. Um, but again, method is so complex. I could assume that there would be a lot of like I'm not a whole I'm not a writer innately. So I wouldn't necessarily know like, an innate writer's process, but I can assume if you were to use method to write, it would come from a very, very personal place. And if you're using method correctly, it would be very, very full.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine though? To me, it's like, okay, so all that energy that you would expend with every character that you created, then you have to be inside that character. I don't think anybody would last. I don't.
Well, this is actually something that it's been very, very helpful is with method. They always say, you are every character. Every character is within you. And it's this idea that you take what you can take personally to connect to that person, then you use those key points to then in turn expand and explore that person and see how that person actually differentiates from you, but you start at a place that's familiar. And so I think you
Yeah,
can go a little crazy with it, but
I mean, I could see that, but there's also a very famous actor that said a man's got to know his limitations. And to me, it's like I think if you got into that as diehard as most methods get into it, I don't either either they wouldn't do it, they would crash and burn, or two, it would take forever to do it because you would need time to recover.
oh
You
yeah,
just yes. Uh, like
100%.
we talked to the first method actor I ever spoke to was Courtney Gaines. And he's a really, really well-known actor and really respected. Um, and we asked him because he says I'm method. He says, well, how do you break out of a character? Because you hear about that once in a while where somebody will just get into the character and just that they're off to the races. And Courtney says what he did, he would come in, he'd go in there to his room, wherever he get a mirror, he go in front of the mirror and say, I've done my part. I've done it. I'm done. I'm getting rid of the character. And he literally says he shake his hands. He's like, that's it. And then he walk out and he left that character behind. because that's one of the things I've talked when I've talked to character actors. Is like I've always asked, have you ever taken a character home with you? Have you ever been so deep in a role that you took it home with you? And a lot of people have. And I just think that's the inherent risk of method acting is going in so far that you don't have a safety line wrapped around your waist, and you're getting so far into the process that sometimes it can hurt your overall performance. Um,
Oh, for sure. I
um,
think so. I mean, there is like one teacher that we had that was very, very good. Of like, once you did the work, he would always say, touch the ground or drink water, something. He pretty much was like, you need to find something that like resets everything. Like, so you can either start from square one, or you can, you can allow whatever you're feeling to exist, but not affect you anymore. And I found that that was really, really helpful. And like, usually within like 15-20 minutes, you can kind of start to decompress. Like, you decompress, but it kind of starts weaning after then.
see, Michael has another question, and he says, "Speaking of characters, have you ever had to play a character you would personally hate if you met them in real life?" So, yeah, that's a good question. So you have to play like a villainess. You ever played someone who's despicable?
No, actually, I I
I
just
was
did
gonna
this.
say, I was gonna say, I just don't see you playing that as of right now. I mean, I do, I just can't see you playing. Yeah, I'm gonna gut you like a fish, and I just don't see that for you right now. But is that something that you're looking forward to as an actor? Like you're looking forward to actually playing a villainous, like and cutting loose?
Oh, 100%. I don't have like an innate time that I think I've ever like been typed as a villain, but I've played around and like read different plays where I've really been like, man, I could really, really cut deep with this,
Not
um,
literally, I hope. Not literally.
no, not literally, not literally.
No, no, no method that far. Yeah, I'm playing a slasher. Come over here. See if this is sharp enough. No,
Oh
uh,
man.
uh, so have you ever done a scene? So have you played a character that if you did meet him on the street, you would just bitch slap him if you had to?
I played Pollyanna and Heidi at the same time. A play that I did over the summer through Culver City Public Theater in the Parks. It was this kind of like storybook kind of characters, and I ended up playing Heidi and Pollyanna at the same time. So like I was split down my like half, but I really was over Pollyanna. She was a little too happy all the
Well,
time.
that sounds like sugar overload.
Oh yeah.
Uh oh, thanks so much, Joseph. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate you coming in as well, sir. I hope that we're able to answer the questions. I hope I framed them correctly. Oh, no problem, Joseph. Enjoy the replay. Uh, okay, so let's talk about your first time taking your training and taking it on to your first short film. So, um, so let's walk into that because that must have been very interesting for you. What was your first short film? What was the first short film? How long did it take you to get into character? Uh, were you in character before you got to the set, or did you take some time by yourself and go privately, then get into character, then ready to shoot? And the third question I would ask is, how did you recover from that director who told you to, like, I need to just get a little bit more from you? How did you respond to that?
Hmm. So the first short film that I used method within was actually my first short film ever. It was called, I think she called it Dual Minds. It was like an intro like project it was a student film. And I was very spoiled. I was able to actually work with another method actor that I knew pretty well. So before we were on set, we met quite a few times and we went through improv, we went through character work, we made sure that our backstories coincided with each other in the sense of we knew our relationship, we knew everything leading up to that moment, we knew each other's careers, we knew where each other was from, like, and you don't always get that. So I was very spoiled. But going onto set, you know, we both went straight to just kind of doing relaxation, doing our sensory, and then going into the scenes that we were supposed to do. I think it definitely led to some very interesting behavior. I remember there was this one specific scene where I was supposed to pack a suitcase, and they gave me a ton of stuff to put in it. It was pretty much about, just to give context, I'm taking a job in New York that my girlfriend did not want me to take. And so I'm pretty much like, this is my dream job. I can't, like, you know, I can't give this offer up. It's only for 2 years. We'll just do long distance. She was not happy with that. And so I go to kind of pack my suitcases because my flight's leaving the next day. And I go in.
Do they pack do they pack, is that suitcase really packed, or is it something, I mean, does that help you if it's, you know, like I always wonder about that when I see people work with props like that. Do they actually, was the suitcase, was that actually heavy? Did they actually put stuff in it? Or was that just something you had? Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Well, the thing is I was packing it, so I put everything in, and then I could not shut it. And so the big thing with method is like you stay in whatever the circumstance was. So I started hitting the suitcase, and then I like tried sitting on it. And it was interesting because they were all just kind of like, they were supposed to be a small insert, but they were just kind of watching it going, huh. And I eventually was just like, oh, I was so frustrated, actually, just kind of like, you know, I didn't scream, but I was like frustrated, and they cut. She was like, everyone was like, that was so neat to watch. I was like, yeah, it's method.
So, so you got a little salty on there, like, you know, like this damn suitcase.
It wasn't shutting. Like they had a lot of stuff that they wanted me to pack in it, which was really it was fun. But it was just like it wouldn't shut, and I was just like, I felt the emotions of my character. I was like, I just want to shut and get out. That's all I wanted to do, and I couldn't even shut the suitcase to like get it ready to leave. And it's really interesting because I feel like, I wouldn't say necessarily method, but if you have, if you're at least very, very present and aware, everything that you do, you can like, it gives you more momentum. And so it's like, the more times we take something, the more I'd like kind of explore and find out, which I love doing. And I love, being on a set that fosters that. And yeah, I mean, it was a great first set that I worked with method for sure. And the director, she's lovely.
Now, was that in Los Angeles or was that here in Michigan?
That was in Los Angeles.
Okay. Yeah. Did you do have you done any filming at all here in Michigan? Or have you been back since you went to LA?
I've been back to visit my family, but I've not actually done any film in Michigan, sadly.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's go back to your first movie. So that was your first time, and how long did it take you to get in the character? When you got on set, were you there before you got to set, or did you get there and then go? Like I said, did you go somewhere quiet and then get into your role, and then afterwards, considering how with the suitcase, how did you disengage yourself from your character?
Well, it was a very, very interesting kind of period in my life. I kind of was going through not necessarily like the same circumstances as that character, but I was kind of going through something else that I was able to actually kind of use. So, instead of going, I'm not feeling this, I have to feel X, Y, Z, I was like, well, I feel this, I can use this here. And so I'd say like I was kind of partially in it, but then it's like you kind of you take with method. I do not know how long it took me to get into character because at that point, I just I got to set, I did my relaxation, I did my sensory. They'd be like, hey, we're looking at filming in like 10, 15 minutes. And I was like, cool, let me know like 2 minutes before. And you just kind of do what you can to like stay in that place, see how that feels, be comfortable with how that feels. And then you get up and you do what you gotta do.
Now, have you done a movie yet where you know, because it's always different, I guess, for everybody. But have you had to do anything in a film that has been sort of hard for you to get into? Say like a romantic scene. I mean, you're into the character, so there's two ways people handle it. Like like in character, deep method style, and then there's some who are a little nervous about doing that with a scene partner. Have you had to come across that yet? And if so, has that been the most difficult thing that you've encountered as far as becoming an actress? Dealing with certain situations like that.
I think, I mean, as an actress, I so far yet, I've not come to a point where I've ever been like uncomfortable with intimacy or romantic feelings because usually, at least in my process, and not everybody does this, I will use substitution. So, like, say, like, if I was, say, talking with you, but I was supposed to, I was supposed to have a certain connection, I would use somebody that I have a very, very strong personal connection to, and that can kind of draw that out, that necessarily that feeling out.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like it's weird. Not everybody
It is,
understands
'cause
it, but
that's an extraordinary amount of trust to give somebody. Like,
yeah,
my gosh, I'm just imagining that, like, with if I was with my wife and I'm thinking about her and all the feelings I have for her, and then I got to translate that into the scene partner, and I'm allowing them to come inside me to see what I'm feeling on a personal level. That's really I don't know I don't know if is it daring, is it acting, is it like
I think
you got to have tremendous trust.
yeah. Well, usually a lot of the times I like to, especially when I get to set, I like to know the people that I'm working with to some degree. Because I've walked on this, I've like had the situation you walk on a set, you do like a scene with somebody, and you're like, I would if I would have known you more, I think it would have, would have been better. So like usually what I like to do is I like to say like, so like what do you do? What are your hobbies? Like see how I can connect with them. And that's something that I can actually like in turn use
Okay.
um
Okay.
in
Yeah.
set. But a lot of the times, especially if there's intimacy, I always like to go over like boundaries of like I think the worst I had to do was I had to like kiss a guy goodbye. He was like not my husband, but like my live-in boyfriend. And I like kissed him goodbye, and I was like, okay, so like I'm comfortable with the X, Y, and Z. Like, what are you comfortable with? And it was fine.
Do you think today's world, the way the world is today, do you think it affects certain scenes like that? Like, like not necessarily just intimacy scenes, but just even if it's just like a scene like from Casablanca, where we see Humphrey and Igmar, and they're sharing a scene, or someone like Marilyn Monroe, Marilyn Monroe doing How to Marry a Millionaire. Do you think that I mean, back then it seems to be. Do you think there's more freedom back there versus today? How do you think yesterday's actors would handle today's environment?
I like that question. Um, I think I think a lot of the like talks about rules and boundaries that are put in place are to make sure that like nothing gets misconstrued. And like I've done scenes in classes with people that have pushed boundaries, and
Mm.
it's like you put that in place, you're like, I'm not comfortable with this. And
Isn't that a
when that
teacher's job?
gets
Is that
hmm?
isn't that a teacher's job to observe that and to like, hey, whoa, Tiger, you don't put your hand on her ass. I know you feel for her, but you're not doing that. Like, you haven't got permission to do that. Isn't that a teacher's responsibility to rein something like that in?
Well, there are some teachers I think that do kind of like to push and stretch those limits a bit. And they like to say, well, how can you feel like, it's like, how can you feel in the moment? How can, it's like, would you do this? Or, kind of, they really try to separate the character from you. And if a character has more open boundaries than you, and like, I had a situation where I had a scene partner that, I talked about how I was not comfortable with him kissing me in a certain scene because I just did not feel like it was warranted. And every time in like a class, he would go and try to kiss me, and I dodge it. and the teacher took notice, and she was like, well, why aren't you taking that impulse? And I'm like, well, I'm told I'm not comfortable with it. And she gave a really good, like, she's like, well, you could always kind of cheat it. So like, you're not necessarily seeing that you're not kissing him, but it's just kind of one of those, I don't know.
I think he would get one strike with me, you know. I'm sitting there and I see that, and if I hear you say that, I'm not really
Mhm.
comfortable with that. That's your strike. That's boundaries,
Yeah.
and it's just like, and so, I'm going to try it anyway. Well, you know what? Let's see how method we really get, like no means no, it's like, I mean, it's, wow, that's just, that's really, that's sort of alarming to hear that.
Well, it's one
Now,
of those, I think, when you're in a space where you're vulnerable, and say like you actually, you're utilizing the work and you feel in that situation, I understand, but I do think there has to be a level of awareness of knowing what the boundaries are and aren't. And especially when you're starting off, that's not always necessarily, you sometimes don't have that. I've never experienced it, but some people, it's a lot to juggle.
yeah,
But I know that happens in other situations, and I
yeah.
think that's why having clear-cut boundaries is always a great way to start off.
Now, have you yourself ever crossed anybody's boundaries when you're in your process?
Not that I'm aware of. That's always like a first thing that I always go over. It's like a lot of the times, with touch, I'm the type of person, like, innately I don't like being touched, so I'm not a very touchy person. But there are some people that are very, very touchy, and so like I don't think innately I've crossed like a physical boundary. I don't know, like, emotionally. I've never been told, so I
What
don't think
what
so.
what what, what would be more difficult? What boundary would be more would I mean, as far as the process goes, as far as your acting goes? What's the easiest? What's the better boundary to? I mean, if you had to cross one, I mean, not that you want to, but if someone did that with you, would you rather have them cross you emotionally or intimacy or action? Like you had a fight scene and they're really, they're grabbing you and really, I mean, is there anything like that you would have a limitations on, that, or you would handle that? I guess you would tolerate it the most before you said anything.
Um, I think emotionally, because I for me personally, I feel like if you have a process of getting out of it, you can feel what you feel in the moment, but you can let it go. Anything in an intimate way, or like even in like an action way. I knew of somebody that actually ended up like going a bit too hard and hurting somebody else doing film fighting.
Yeah.
And that's like, I don't want to have like a broken bone because someone's like, whoa. So
Right.
I think emotional damage is a little easier.
Now, have you done like physical comedy or physical any of your short films? Have you ever had to grapple with anybody or do slapstick or improv?
um, I think on most of the sets that I've worked, they're kind of clear cut. I think the only time that I kind of got a little chance to do a little bit of comedy was, I'm trying to think, because I've done a lot of work in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I
No,
like your I like your body of work so far. I mean, you've had some. It looks like been very busy.
yeah.
You've been a lead actress in 5 films and main support in the other 4. I mean, that's
Mhm.
just what I see right here. That's pretty damn good. Most people are background or the third tree, or the third tree in the Wizard of Oz,
Yeah, I've
so.
been there.
Uh-oh, Vietnam flashback. But you know what I'm saying, though. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's what you've done so far is very impressive. Um, so I think the directors. Do you think have you gotten any of your work based on word of mouth from other directors that have worked with you in the past and then come back and sit there and like, I'm looking for an actress for this role, and they suggest you?
Oh, I actually have quite a few stories with that. I think I've gotten probably 4 or 5 roles just from word of mouth. And it's because I'm pretty easy to work with. I've done hair and makeup on film sets as well. So I understand like the other side that's not the acting side. So I'm probably, I don't know. I'm a little more amenable. I'm like, I know y'all have a thing that you got to do. It's like, you got a time limit. You've got this, all of this is into it. Like I fit in where I fit in. And I think probably the most interesting story I actually have from that was an audition that I did for this one guy's short film, landed me a lead role in somebody else's. And it was because he remembered my audition tape. And he had a friend who was also shooting. It's like, I need a lead for this, but I don't even know where to look. And he goes, I remember this actor, I really liked her. And they pulled up my audition tape, watched it, and I got messaged randomly. I was like, hey, I've seen your work before, and I was hoping you'd be on board and shooting this with me. And I was like, sure. Like, who'd you work with? Because I didn't remember, but it was really interesting on set, kind of going, I can't remember who I worked with. And it's like, I've worked with a lot of people, and I'm not the greatest at remembering faces. I'm getting over that. But I was talking with, it was the first AC, and it was funny because we were talking, and I was like, there was somebody I worked with, and I'm like, but you look familiar, but I don't know if I've worked with you on a set. And he goes, you don't work with me on set, but you auditioned for my film. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Usually I go into auditions and it's like, I don't even remember half the stuff that happens. And he goes, no, he's like, and he told me the story. He's like, I really liked your work and I recommended you for this. And, I got casted off of that audition tape. I didn't even have to audition. So it was really cool. And it was this really interesting moment. And yeah.
Well, as working short films, how many short films did you work? Or did you come right off the bat and start out right away? But how long? What film number did it take before you actually got paid? Did you get? I'm asking this because I want to know what your feeling was. When you first time you got paid as a working actress. What was the project that you did, and what did you remember feeling about, like, I'm getting paid to do this versus doing it in class, or you're paying for that, or you read it off a Facebook group. Can't pay you anything, but I can give it IMDb credit.
Honestly, I've not gotten paid for any of my work as of yet.
You what?
I think I've not gotten paid yet.
Oh, we're gonna change that. Oh yeah, we're changing that. Oh my gosh, you got 9 projects underneath your belt. Yeah, it's time for you to get paid. Next time someone wants you to come up and come act, yeah, it's time to get paid. Time to get gas money at least. I personally
I did get gas money.
Oh, okay.
It was for a play, but but no, for film I've not gotten paid yet.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I can't stand that. I'm in Facebook groups a lot because I'm promoting and I'm looking for actors, people to talk to, and I see that all the time. Amere, they'll sit there and say, yeah, doing a short film, looking for 4 actors, 5 actors, can't pay you anything, but credit in IMDb. And I'm just going like, how did you get your cameras? How'd you get them? What did you think that's all there's to movies? It's just grabbing a camera, point and shooting. Has no one ever taught you how to build a budget for a film? Because you're forgetting the key part of that. You have to build a budget. You have to have a budget before you film, and that includes paying your talent.
Well, I think like a lot of the films that I've done are student films, so I've not been able to kind of break into, I guess, the professional realm yet, kind of where it's passion projects and funded by outside entities. And usually with students, they have enough budget to like pay for crew because a lot of them get equipment from schools at a lower cost. But a lot of them are like, well, the actors are going to get copy and credit, and half the time you don't get copy. but it's a really you get a lot of learning experience from doing that. So
Sure.
I mean, you get
Within
something.
reason. Within reason. I mean, I think 9 films is a lot of experience. I do. I think it's when you walk in there and a director looks at your resume, and it's just not your first or second rodeo. It's not like, this is my first set, or this is my second set. No, you got 9, and you got in the leads for 5. That right there tells you what I need to know about you. If you got 5 lead roles, that means you got talent to back that up, because student films, I mean, if I'm not mistaken about this, student films, they're not just, I'm going to grab the first 5 people to come in and audition. I think because they feel the pressure on themselves to deliver a really good film. I think they go a little overboard, and that's not a bad thing, but I think they go a little overboard in how, like, you're not gonna for your crew, you're not gonna grab, like, have you ever worked with this camera before? No, but I'm reading the manual for it. Okay, you're fine. Come on into the project. They're not gonna do that. They're gonna go ahead and, like, do you have any experience using a red camera? Yes, I do. I have 20 projects. All right, good. I know. I don't have to worry about my cinematographer. Why can't it apply to the actors? Is this your first movie? No, I've already been on 8 sets, and 8 sets as the actress, or 9 sets as the actress, another 6 as a makeup artist, so 15 sets. Okay, I'm gonna pay you. I don't have much money for you. I can probably buy you dinner, and I can give you gas money. I think. Wow, that's just really sort of. Yeah,
You do get a
I,
meal. They do at
huh,
least feed you.
yeah. And not just a Safeway sandwich with a bag of chips either. Like, have a
Actually,
good.
students are pretty good. If you're working the right sets, they'll get like Chipotle, or like I remember this one set that I worked, they were getting like Dave's Hot Chicken and Chipotle catering. Like a lot of them are really good with food. But it's one of those, everyone's learning and everyone's, gaining experience from it. And so
Oh,
I mean,
that's I've had some pretty well known directors on here, and one of the things I ask them is, like, how's your craft table? It's like, huh, what? Oh, I have a good craft table. 'Cause, you make a movie on, movies are made on the stomachs of the performers, on the crew. If
mhm.
their tummies are happy, you're gonna have a pretty happy set.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so yeah, we're gonna do that. I take it this is your first press too, right? Have you ever been interviewed before for your acting?
On a podcast, no. I've done like little inserts in like magazines, but they'll like give you a questionnaire to fill out.
Right, right. That's not, yeah.
This is like
I hope you're having
this.
fun.
Oh, this is great. I love it.
I can get used to it, because it's gonna happen for you a lot more. I can
We'll
I can tell
see.
you that. Oh,
I
I
hope.
already know. I already know. Yeah, this will be happening a lot more. So let's talk a little bit about your first role. You said was a lead actress. You
Mhm.
mentioned that your first. I mean, now, did you have any fear at all about that when they said, you're going to be leading this off? Because, like, most of the time, like I said, most people come in, and they come in as background, or they come in as support. They just slowly working their way in. I don't know that many people that walk onto a set, um, with no experience, and walk in as a lead. That's a tremendous, a lot of. Now, is that the movie that your director had to talk to you about?
No.
Okay, let's get back to
No.
that. I want to go back to that one, because I'm curious about that. So, what was the film that happened with?
That was one that I did recently. That's still like it's still
Oh,
in like post production.
so
Um,
how did you get yourself out of that? When the director came up to you and said, "Hey, I need you a little bit more." I mean, you're dead tired. Is it harder for you to maintain your process when you're dead tired? I mean,
um,
was it pushing you to your creative limits?
I don't think it was pushing me to my creative limits, but I definitely think that it it really put a testament of how does method work? Like literally, I remember I said to her, because she's like, "How are you feeling?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna be very honest. I did not feel that last take, and I just feel like my body's giving out." And she pretty much was like, "Well, you can't quit now. Like, let's go." And she's like, I need more from you. I need you to do something. And I was like, "Give me 5 minutes, and I will give you a good take." Because I did a lot of theater growing up, and there were a lot of times that honestly I performed and I should not have performed. So for me, when I'm told you need to raise the bar, I don't take that as I don't take that as like a wound to my ego. I take it as like okay, I really need a center. I need to focus. I just need to push through at this point. Because what I'm doing right now is not working. I need to go back to square one. So what I did was I told her, I was like, "Give me 5 minutes." I literally stood at my mark. So as soon as I knew I was there emotionally, I was like, "Okay, let's get going." I just kind of went through and I felt where my body was tense. I was very tense in my shoulders. I was very tense in my back through, and I relaxed that. And I did my sensory to get me to that place emotionally. And I delivered it. We did it. And she's like, "Okay, we got it. We're done."
Wow. I bet you slept like a baby that night.
Yeah.
I bet. One of those where you're already asleep before you hit the pillows. Wow. Now have all your plays, have they all been dramas, or have you done any action or physical action in any of your films so far?
Um, I've not done any physical no, I've not done any like physical action. Um, I know like plays are a little more like they're a little more kind of with a full body, but I've never done like stage fighting or stage combat. I did take some film fighting classes at Strasberg, but I've never been able to use that. Yes.
Is that something you're gonna try to look into?
Yeah. I've had some issues just kind of like with my body, so I've kind of put it on pause, but it's definitely something I want to revisit and kind of hone in on that skill because I've got the basics with it now. It's like I just got to put it into practice.
Okay. What type of roles? What type of roles going forward? What are three type of roles, or three either three movies or three types of roles that you would like to star in?
Oh gosh.
If you
I
let's go with this. Let's do this because this is more fun. So of all the movies. Oh wait a minute. Oh, that's right. Okay. So the cheetah wants to ask. I have one question for you. Been asking this. Um. So are you a fan of Hereditary? Yes or no?
I don't think I've seen it. I can't remember. Can you can you describe what the movie is? I might.
So it had Toni Collette, and it was about the little girl who got her head knocked off by the
Yeah,
telephone.
I saw it, but it was years ago, so it's a little fuzzy. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah, the one with the little girl.
Yeah. Was that a? Did you like that movie or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
actually.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So what three movies? And Hereditary is not one of them. But what three movies have you watched that if you could have taken over a role of a leading actress, what three movies would you like to try to act in as the lead?
Goodness, that's. I don't know if off the top of my head I have movies. I've been reading a lot of screenplays, and I know like screenplays off the top. I mean not screenplays, but like plays off the top of my head. I really would love to do Blanche from Streetcar Named Desire. That's definitely I've seen the movie and I love the movie and I actually had the screenplay. I mean the screenplay. I actually had the play, so I want to actually give it a read and actually start kind of just working on that. Well, I have the opportunity. I'm trying to think of movies. Can I answer place? Because I can't think of any movies right now.
Okay, yeah, okay. How about if you're doing musical how about this? We'll compromise. Give me three musical movies that you would like to be the lead star in. There's a lot of musical out there with a lot of movies out there. You know, musical movies.
Mia in La La Land,
Okay.
definitely. Um, musical movies. Elphaba and Wicked. I know that it's not technically a movie yet,
That's
but I
that's like
love the
Idina.
score to Wicked.
That was Menzel did that, right?
Yeah, I love Idina.
She's lovely.
And then a third one. Um, I like the soundtrack to The Greatest Show as well. I can't remember what the name of the P.T. Barnum's wife was. I am blanking,
Oh,
but I.
that was Heath Ledger's wife, Michelle
Oh,
Williams. Yeah, Michelle
oh,
Williams.
well, there's something new today.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, I would. That's another role that I'd grab for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fun movie. I wish it had a little bit more substance to it, but I thought the songs were catchy.
Oh yeah. How do
Definitely,
you?
I love Zendaya in it. Zendaya and Zac Efron. That's a that's a beautiful scene right there. Is when we have Rebecca Ferguson's character singing "Never Enough," and then on the back of it you see Zendaya and Zac Efron. You know, they come from different classes. And gosh almighty, I mean, that's a scene that didn't have any language. You know, they didn't say any word of dialogue to each other. But holy cow, you could have heard that from a mountaintop. You know, it's just a beautiful scene and heartbreaking. And I just, yeah, I think musicals. I hope musicals come back a little bit more. I'd like to see someone like yourself get a crack to get out there and show off your voice.
I would love to. Which is funny. Like I actually took a break from singing during the pandemic. I just felt very burned out, and so I'm kind of starting to step back into it now. And I don't know. I found a lot more with it, which I look back and I go, why did I quit? you know,
Um,
not quit, but like just not focus on it as much.
Uh, so what are three roles that you would like to do if you had if you could cast yourself in three type of roles, not necessarily I'm not asking you to do Streetcar to Desire, but I'm talking about if there are three roles of a genre that you wanted to try to act in, what would they be? Would you like to try to do like film noir? Would you like to do drama? Would you like to do light comedy? Would you like to do slapstick? What are three types of roles that you would like to challenge yourself with?
I would love to play like a sassy comedic character. And I just never gotten the opportunity to. I feel like if you look at me innately, you wouldn't necessarily always think like, oh yeah, like she can be pretty sassy, but when given the opportunity, I can be very, very sassy. Um, I would love to do just kind of a very, very over the top, dramatic, sassy comedy. I'd love to do something with a lot of emotional depth. So like a drama. But then I would also like specifically, I would love to work on a character with like multiple personalities and go through and develop each one of those and then see how they exist and um, you know,
Yeah, I
in
was thinking
one
about
person.
Charlize Theron when she did Monster. I
Hmm.
mean, oh man, talk about like no one. I mean, unless you knew her in the movie, if she would have walked by you in the street, you would have never known who she was. She completely disappeared into that character. I mean, she was like, when her foot hit the set, Charlize Theron was still back at home because this was that Eileen Warnos. This was Eileen right there on the set. That was actually a terrifying role to watch because she sold out for that role. Could you see yourself going that far for a role, like just allow yourself to, have reshape your body, reshape your look, um, or is there boundaries to like, I'll do anything, but I won't do that.
Um,
It
I
sounds like
think
a
as long as it was not damaging to my health, um, I I would not mind kind of shaping and morphing. Like if I needed to shave my head, if I was getting paid, if I was getting paid, I'd shave my head, you know. If I, they wanted me to lose or gain weight, I'd be fine with that. I actually had to lose weight for a role, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Do you get notes to that? Because to me, if I'm a male director, or even a male assistant director, I think probably the last thing I would want to do is to walk up to and one of the actors and sit there and tell them like, so do you think you could lose like 10 pounds before in 2 weeks? I just find like I don't know. I just find like you auditioned me for the role. Okay, I auditioned for you. I won the part. 10 pounds didn't win it for you. It wasn't because I was 10 pounds heavy. It was just because I was that good of an actress. I was good at that. I or I guess you could do what some of the other actors did and go to the extreme with it. I mean, there have been some method actors that have gone really like Christian Bale.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, yeah,
Mhm.
and the Machinist. That was just stupid, absolutely insanely stupid. I mean, he could have died doing that one. Um, I mean, is there certain limits that if someone says that, yeah, I want you to lose 20 pounds for this role, we want to be able to see your ribs on the camera. Is that something where you sit there and say, yeah, you know what? No.
I
Or
think it
would
depends
you
on the script. Because I can't say that that's something I would turn down if I thought that it was a prevalent thing within like the story to like have. Like if it was like I was told like we'll give you the role, but you gotta like lose 20 pounds because you look hotter, I'd be like, you know
mm,
what? Then you can find someone else because I just don't think that's for the right reasons. You know. Um,
exactly?
but no, when I lost the weight for the role, it was because I was supposed to play a poltergeist. It was kind of my bargaining tool to get the role.
Nice.
Yeah. It
I
was
was one of the guys in the chat actually wanted me to ask you if you like horror films. So
yeah.
now, I take it you do, and you already said you like Hereditary. So I guess you do like horror films.
Yeah, no, I actually grew up terrified of ghosts. So I would sit and I was a weird kid. I would sit and like rewatch if I was like genuinely terrified of something, I would like watch videos on YouTube about it so I wasn't scared of it anymore. So I grew up
Okay.
like watching like the haunting like ghost stories, the like kind of the slapsticky like bad horror films, and I kind of started finding comedy in it. And this specific one that I did, the director I really like the storyline, I really like the plot, and he's like, I'm looking for someone to play the ghost because I already have my lead. And he goes, but the lead is like, I was supposed to kind of almost mirror the lead, and she was taller than me and probably like thinner. She was thinner than I was, and so he's like, I want it to be like she's emaciated, but you're also shorter than her. And I was like, well, I can probably lose like 10 pounds. You want me to lose 10 pounds? He goes, you could lose 10 pounds, and I know how to do it safely. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure like I can do that. And so I did, and he was like, wow. He goes, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but like you did the task at hand and it works. So yeah.
Uh, so how do you lose 10 pounds safely?
um, you make sure that you're getting all proper nutrients in. Like for me, using an infrared sauna really helps. I have some like not like health problems, but I have some like chronic issues that like I kind of know where my body's at and I kind of know where to go. Okay, but usually just eating a lot of like I don't ever like restrict, but it's like eating like fruits, vegetables, and proteins is a very good way to just kind of like tone up.
Okay.
Um, so that's pretty much just what I did.
Okay. Okay. Uh, so what some of the stuff? I gotta ask this because now that I've opened up the lid. So what are some of your favorite horror movies? And which horror movie which horror movie would you? Well, there you go again. What horror movie would you like to start in if you could get cast in any one horror movie? Which one would you like to challenge? Which one do you think would challenge you in the role?
There's this one horror film. It's a psychological thriller on Netflix called Cam. And It's one of my, I think it is an incredible movie, and I think I love movies that are ahead of its time, and I think that that movie was incredibly ahead of its time. Have you seen it?
It's called Cam.
Yeah, CAM.
I haven't heard that one yet.
So it's about a cam girl, like an online like web model
Okay.
who does shows for views and money, and her family, and they don't know that she's doing these shows, but she's kind of pulling herself out of poverty through it.
Oh, sort of like OnlyFans.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Um and everything's going good until she gets logged out of her account and somebody is streaming as her. And this person just keeps kind of pushing limits and boundaries. And she's trying to go, this isn't me doing it, but this looks like it's me. And she tried contacting the website. She ended up actually kind of hunting down some of her like fans and trying to like be like, what's going on? Like she had this one guy that was stalking her that she kind of was like, tell me what the hell is this? And he's like, I've seen this happen to girls before, but I didn't know it happened to you. And I think when I first watched it, I thought it was really, really intriguing, but I didn't really think I didn't really think much of it, but I think it's really prevalent with the use of AI. And I can rewatch it now and go, oh my God, she was taken over by AI. So she wasn't earning, the website was earning the money. And the ending scene, I think, is really not beautiful, but kind of not like the ending sequence, but when she actually confronts this AI, she creates a whole different, she creates a whole nother, she creates an account, she streams with the AI, and she's like, you're not me. And like, she ends up like breaking her nose. And she went to extreme lengths to break the AI. And then in turn, at the end, she bought a wig and fake ID and was doing the same thing again. But that's something I would love. That's one that I would actually like. I'd love to dive into the psychology of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like something straight from the Outer Limits. That would be very, very cool to watch.
Yeah,
So
it's on Netflix.
What's next for you? What are you working on next? Where will you be performing at next?
So I'll be performing at the Jack's Theatricals in the Wild Party as Nadine, a minor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you excited? Now that's the play, right?
It's the musical.
Right.
Andrew Lewis.
It's the musical play, right?
Yes.
Okay. When does it open?
It opens October 14th through the 30th, I believe, something like that.
Okay. That sounds. You'll have to let us know closer you get. Hopefully, someone will smuggle in a camera and bootleg you, so you can actually show us what you've been doing, so we can listen to it.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I'll
Yeah.
see what I can do.
Yeah, just pay anybody here. Just stand right there, kid. Don't let anybody see you. Bootleg it. Amere, thank you so much for coming out. I had an awesome time talking to you. So much fun, and I do think that we will be talking again in the future, because I think that once this strike ends and you get to go back to being creative, I think things will open. The doors will open for you. And I think if we talk again about at the same time next year or 6 months from now, whenever the strike closes, I think we're going to find you a lot higher in the sky as far as your star goes. I think you have a very, very bright future, and I'd like to thank you for coming in and spending a little time with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been super fun, and I'd love to reconnect after a certain point. You're super chill.
Oh, definitely. I will let we're here 3 days a week. I will send you some interesting interviews, and if you know anybody who wants to talk and you feel like they could use some press, send them my way. And
I surely will. Thank you so much.
Before you go, I'm going to let everybody know what's going on tomorrow. Tomorrow tomorrow, me and the Cheetah, we are taking off. We're heading to Colorado, virtually speaking. We're heading for Colorado to hang out with our good friend DeRay, also known as Rainbow Fright. We'll be talking about our 5 favorite IFC midnight films. Do you know IFC films?
No, I'm not familiar.
But you know Hereditary. I'm
I
dead.
do.
I'm absolutely dead. People are going to hear this. They're going to clown on me. ISC is a tremendously great independent film company. I'll send you my list of 5 films that I pick, and you can take a look at them on Netflix,
Awesome.
baby. So we'll be doing that at 5 o'clock. And then at 8 o'clock, we'll be back talking to film director Stephen King Simmons, and we'll be talking about his first feature film that he called The Parker Sessions, and also talking about his follow-up film he's doing called Lead Belly, and that will be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Stay right where you're at, Amere. To the chat, I want to say thank you so much, especially you, Andre, who was out here and stayed the whole show. Our friend Betty was here. Everybody else in the chat, thank you so much. Thank you, Michael Menard, for your questions. I appreciate that. And we will see you tomorrow night for Stephen King Simmons. Be safe and be well. Peace. Stay right where you're at. Come on. There we go.